Hello everyone, Riley here, and I just had a chance to see all of the Oscar-nominated short films in the animated and live-action categories as they just came on demand. So I thought I would share my brief opinions on them and rank them from 5 to 1 as to which I think was the weakest to the best. Also, sorry, but I didn't get a chance to see any of the documentary short films. They weren't included on there. So this is just the live-action and the animated. So, without any further ado, let's get on to the animated short films, and at number 5, I have Dear Basketball. Now, this film, which is basically Kobe Bryant's love letter to the sport of basketball in itself, it's quite good. It's not outstanding, but it's very serviceable short film. It's definitely worth a watch. It has some really cool visual storytelling things that it does with it, and the just general emotion that he brings to it. It's all there, and it all works fairly well. It just, the visuals, I'm not a big fan of the hand-drawn sketch-like visuals that they use that kind of jump in and out. It's very just distracting to watch for me for parts of it. Even though they do some cool things with the visuals, just the overall style was very just tiring to watch, and it didn't have a lot of the emotional weight as some of the other short films did that I'm going to mention, so I have it as my number 5th. At number 4, I have Negative Space. Now, Negative Space is a short film that is basically about the relationship of a boy and his father, and about the way that packing for business trips kind of goes into their relationship. And while this has a lot of cute and heartwarming elements to it, and the ending is very powerful, it just never really hit me in the way that some of the other ones did, and I don't feel like it quite was as emotionally impactful as it was thinking that it was, so for me, it ends up being at my number 4. At number 3, I have Pixar's short film, Lou. Now, Lou is about the discarded objects that are in the Lost and Found at a playground, and it's really cute. It's really enjoyable. It's fun to watch. It has some emotional elements to it that I was not expecting. Overall, it's a very good short film, and it's about on par with the average of Pixar short films. It's not in the top, it's not in the bottom, but it's just never really goes for any deeper meaning to it, and it doesn't delve into themes that are as complex as some of the other ones do, and I feel like it just kind of was a little safe, but it's overall very good, so I think it deserves a place getting nominated, and it's my number 3 on this list. At number 2, I have Garden Party. Garden Party is about these frogs going on about their lives, but then you start getting a slow reveal as to where they actually are and what setting is that they're taking place. And the way that the reveal happens and what actually is going on is fascinating, and it's really captivating to watch because the hints that they keep dropping are slightly out of place, and you start feeling just a sense of unease throughout the beginning of it that is just further exemplified over and over and over and over again until you finally realize what's going on, and it just hits you like a bang, and it's really impactful to watch, and it was insanely well done. At number 1, I have Netflix's Revolting Rhymes, which is based off of a Roald Dahl novel, and it's kind of a take sort of like Into the Woods. It's a darker take on some of the fairy tales and kind of melding them together. And this is only the first episode of the 2-part series that was actually nominated, so I'm only going to be talking about the first episode. This is the longest one out of these. It's around 23 minutes, and while at times it does slightly drag, the story is really captivating the entire time, and it's really well done. I found overall that the way that the different fairy tales are melded together really worked, and I love the ending in particular, and the way that the storybook start and closure of it worked really tied in well with the overall story and the story within the story. I know this may seem confusing, but if you see it, you'll know what I mean. And I think overall it just seemed, out of all of them, to be the most well thought out, and it felt the most complete and cohesive as a complete unit, and I felt like it told the most complete story, so I have it as my number 1. Now, on to the live action ones. Also, I kind of think that all of the live action ones are better than all of the animated ones, so even though this one is my number 5, I still like it quite a bit. And at number 5, I have My Nephew Emmett, which is kind of the story of Emmett Till, told from the perspective of his uncle, and it's just talking about the incident. This film is really hard to get through. Not because it's, like, poorly made, but just because the subject matter is really intense. However, I feel like the subject matter brings the intensity more than the actual filmmaking does, and I feel like some of the dialogue is a little weak, and the lighting, it is very black the entire way through, just to make it seem realistic in the way that everything would happen at night, but it made it hard to see a lot of the actors' emotions, and just it made it slightly dull to watch for part of it. But overall, it's a very well told story, and it's a very encapsulating story that I wish that we actually would have, like, a mainstream Hollywood retelling of, because can't think of any, like, big wide tellings of the Emmett Till story, and it's definitely one that I think needs to be told. At number 4, I have Watu Wote, All of Us. And this film is kind of about the struggles between Christians and Muslims that was going on, and it's about a specific incident in 2015 that happened where some terrorists hijacked a bus. And this film is really captivating. The climactic scene towards the end is incredible. It is really tense, and it's really heart-racing, and it's really effective. But the beginning, I feel like it does drag a bit at the beginning, and I feel like they don't really explain enough of the character at the beginning to really make the end as impactful as it could have been. Even though the filmmaking of that last scene is incredible, it could have had an extra layer of punch to it had, I feel, at the beginning we cared about the main character a little more. Now, my top 3 are all in a league of their own. I loved all of them, but these top 3, I was going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth as to which was my 1, 2, and 3. And if any of these win, I will be completely satisfied with it, because all of these are incredible. At number 3, I have DeKalb Elementary. Now, this is about basically the startings of a school shooting. And yes, this is definitely a timely film to be coming out because of all the events that happened in Florida. But on its own merits, it really stands up as a film. It uses only one location, really only 3 or 4 main angles of shots, and only really 3 actors, and it is able to convey so much story from 3 different perspectives, all in a very short amount of time, and on a very small scale, but they keep the ramifications of what's going on grand. I also really appreciated a lot of the complexities that they added to the shooter himself, as they could have made him a very one-dimensional character, and in a short amount of time, you had a lot of depth from him, and you felt bad for the guy somehow, even though he's trying to shoot up a school. The main character, who's a nurse at the school, is an incredible character. She has so much strength, she's so calm, collected, and knows all the right things to do, and is just someone who's just a great person, and someone who a lot more people should aspire to be like. And she also has this one line that is just hysterical. It kind of breaks from the, overall tone of it, but it is incredibly funny. I don't know if it was intended to be that way, but if you see it, you probably know which line I'm talking about. At number 2, I have the 11 o'clock, and the 11 o'clock is the only comedic one out of these 5, which was kind of a nice breath of fresh air, because all of them, the rest of them, were really depressing. It is about a psychiatrist who is seeing a patient who thinks he's a psychiatrist, but throughout the entire thing, you don't know who is the actual psychiatrist and who's the patient, so you're going back and forth guessing as to which one is which. And they do a great job at doing that, and the reveal at the end of when they reveal who it actually is also really well done. And the dialogue in this one is really sharp, it's really fast-paced, and at a brisk 13 minutes, they are able to pack a lot in, but not overstay its welcome. And this film, I think, is the best edited out of them, and I feel like it's the most compact, but it doesn't have as much of a deep meaning as some of the other ones do. But I personally didn't really care, because it was just so entertaining and so enjoyable to watch. Now, my number 1, I have The Silent Child. Now, The Silent Child is about a deaf girl and basically the butting head relationship between the woman who is teaching her sign language and her parents. And this is heartbreaking. It is one of the most devastating ones out of all of these. Even though the premise itself might not seem so, it has a lot to say about parenting, about schooling, and the statistics that they bring at the end just elevate the actual meaning of the short film, which oftentimes when they put statistics and things at the end of a movie, they just kind of feel like an afterthought or a way to kind of just have a cheap excuse to end the film where they want to. Not for The Silent Child. This one really elevates and it gives a bigger purpose to it. Now this, out of all of the live action shorts, I felt had the most cohesive story, the most to say, and the most complete and largest character arcs throughout it. So I give it a lot of props for that. And it just had a lot of emotional weight to it that is made by the actual dialogue, by the acting. The acting in this one, I think, is the best out of all of them. And just in the execution and the direction overall. I feel like this film is really, really well made. I would say that The Silent Child is the best out of all 10 of these short films that I mentioned today, even though I liked all of them. So, thanks for watching. I should have my Academy Award reactions coming up either tonight or tomorrow. The Oscars are really late, so hopefully I'll be able to. And my internet's not great, so it may take a while to get it up. So, if you've seen any of the short films, drop down in the comment section what you thought of them. And if you haven't seen them, I found a lot of them on demand. Some of them were kind of harder to find than others, but I was able to find all of them. Hopefully they should be more readily available in the upcoming week after the Academy Awards actually happen to kind of give them a new boost. And if you like this video, drop a like down below and don't forget to subscribe. And once again, thanks for watching.